he will tell later that all of those speeches that he gave, he says, do you know who was encouraged most? He encouraged himself. That's the way it works when we become people builders. When you and I begin to focus on building others up, what happens is what we give, we receive. We receive for ourselves. That's why Paul will say in the book of Acts that the Lord said it's more blessed to what? To give than to receive. Because in giving, what happens? I receive. So, number next. The fields are ripe for a harvest of encouragers. You know, I read through this text several times in preparing, working on this lesson, and I don't know how many sermons I've heard, how many I've given using John 8:35 about evangelism and looking under the field that they're white. But I tell you how this all hit me this time, is Jesus was, look under the fields of building up people. There's a harvest out there. Lost people need salvation. But saved people are in that field as well. The encouragement need is great within the ripe fields of this world. It's also great within the pasture of this body of sheep. Those transformed through the love of God are called to walk in Jesus' steps as an encourager. After our walk has been softened by the initial steps that we've talked about in preceding lessons, acceptance, one is now ready to become a people builder. I think that order is important. I think I need to accept people before I can really build them up. So once I've been able to look past the offense at an offender and still be accepting, then I'm able to be about building someone up. Someone has observed that there are two types of people in this world. The first they call balcony people. They said balcony people are the kind of people who reach over the edge and want to pull you up to a higher place. And then there are basement people who pull others down into the pits where they themselves dwell. Balcony people, basement people. People builders, people destroyers. Balcony, basement. Where do you live? Which type are you? The stairs that ascend to the balcony are all the steps of transformational love that we've studied. In other words, if you want to get to the balcony, you're going to have to submit. You're going to have to obey. You're going to have to recognize God's love for you and God's love for others. All of those will get us into the balcony. If, however, we don't take that transitional stairway of self-loving, the traditional self-loving default stairway will cause us to stumble down the stairwell into the basement. Those are our two choices. We will either dwell in the balcony or live in the basement. When Abraham Lincoln was shot in Ford's Theater, they discovered in his billfold he had 8 newspaper clippings. Why was the President of the United States carrying around 8 newspaper clippings in his billfold? Because every one of those clippings was an article in which some author was complimenting a particular part of his presidency. He carried encouragement to his death. Is encouragement important? Is people building important? I always hesitate to talk about movies because, I may ruin it for somebody, but that's just one of the facts of life. If you've read the book or seen the movie entitled The Help, you recognize that the historical setting of that is in the 60s when the United States was still wrestling with all of the racial turmoil that was going on. And The Help is in reference to the colored people of that day who were the help that were hired to take care of the house, basically be nannies to children, etc. And so that's the whole premise of the book. One One of the main characters in the book is Abilene Clark. She's help. And the family that she works for has a toddler whom the mother is pretty neglectful of. The girl's a little chubby. That's not okay with mama. And so she gets called some terms like fatty and some things that are pretty degrading. There is, within the movie, there are several moments where we witness the people-building skills of Abilene, who is the nanny who is basically tending to this child. And here is a 30-second clip, so it's not going to be very long, of one of those scenes.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important. You is smart, you is kind, you is important. Oh, that's so good.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important. Anybody here wouldn't love to hear that? People building. Him, flatter me and I may not believe you. Criticize me and I may not like you. Encourage me and I will not forget you. You want to be unforgettable? Be a people builder. Turn yourself down the path